and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann. Hello.
So we're going to start with our pest chicken. Sherry Ann, do you want to start?
Yes. Okay. So physically, I am 8.3. Emotionally, 8.5. Spirit 9. Hope 9.2. And my word for this moment is reflecting.
Okay.
How about you?
Physically, I am an 8.5. Emotionally, an 8.5. Spiritually, a 7.5. And hope is an 8.5. And my word for right now is jumbled.
Okay. All right.
I
So
love
this.
it though, because the past check-ins really get me grounded, and I need it.
Yeah. Always. Multiple times during the day. So I've been really thinking about Princess Kate Middleton and all of the hoopla and the media and the rumors and all of that has been circling her. And my heart, and now that she has come out and said she has cancer, my heart just goes out to her. Because I really feel like I get what you're going through. And so in particular, so let me just say this and then we can talk about it. It reminded me of my 5th cancer, where they found a GIST, gastrointestinal stromal tumor, so a stomach cancer in my rectum. And it was like, nobody understood why. It wasn't like a secondary cancer, but was it? We're not sure. But lots of questions. And what really comes up for me is the whole, and I know you were kind of at the brunt of this. It was like, I have cancer. No, I don't have. They said it's not cancer. And then they come back and they say, yes, it is. And then they come back and they say, no, it's not. And so there was this, it was scary, but there was no definitive diagnosis at the beginning. So you're going back and forth while they're doing all their testing. And you were going, do you have cancer or don't you? And it was like, I don't know. And I was afraid to say anything more to you and the family because I didn't want to alert everybody, with this panic kind of ensues when you hear cancer.
Right. It's like a switch,
And
right?
so, yeah. And so I wanted to be quiet until we had like a known diagnosis. But then I was doing this back and forth, like, should I be alerted myself or should I just kind of chill out? Once you hear the word cancer again, you don't chill. It's just like you're on edge.
You're triggered.
Exactly. And you don't want to bring everybody else on edge. So I'm like, give this woman a break. She was going through this, I don't know, maybe.
And what you're like, as you're saying, like, you're holding all of that. It's not like you're going back and forth. Like, you can, have someone to bounce that off of like, what do I do? What do I say? How do I go through this? But a lot of times people don't immediately have that other person to be a compassionate sounding board that isn't triggered immediately, to be alert with you and figure out, okay, how do I best communicate this and how do I best handle this myself?
Right. And then at the same time, she had, her father-in-law diagnosed with prostate cancer. So then he's got his journey started. And then she's probably, this is what I know from working with all the hundreds of cancer folks that we have, is that you think, I'm going to die. That means cancer equals death, just is an automatic connection. It's not necessarily true anymore, but that's still how we feel. So It's like, here she is, a 40-year-old woman, 3 children. She's in the limelight. What does she do? I felt like I wanted to put my arms around her and go, come over here. I know what you're going through.
Yeah. So what What would you suggest for her if you had that line to her?
Well, first, I would pull out the cancer journey roadmap. I mean, I
Mhm.
think I'm so glad we created this for people to give them context on what's going on. So I could, circle the call and like, you had the call and you're now going into initiation, and just take a breath because it's going to get really
Mhm.
noisy in here. And in here, of course, right, you're having a ton of emotions. Your mind is racing. And then there's noise out there. There's the medical team that's, doing all their tests and they want to tell you what to do. And then you have your family and you're trying to protect them. But they have, you're going to tell them. How are you going to tell them? It's just all this noise coming at
Mhm.
you. And I would want to say, come over here. Let's get really quiet and let's find you
Mhm.
in
So you
all this
suggest coaching.
swirl.
So you would suggest coaching.
Yes, the caring, patient, knowing coaching, coming from somebody who has really experienced this so many times,
Mhm.
and especially having that surprise one. I had lymphoma for 4 times, and then here comes this gastrointestinal stroma tumor. I'm like, what the heck? Where did this come from? It's
Right.
that shock again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that she's surrounded by so many people, right? And I mean, I heard in um her video that, they're really just concerned about how to communicate this with their kids, right? And how what is the best way to do that? And I do think having a network of people who are so loving, who have been through similar experiences, who are there to help you even just bounce off ideas like what you want to do and be able to like talk about it in a way that maybe that's not the way you keep going with it, but even just to process through that path of what that looks like for you with a coach and someone who is there really just for you to kind of throw up anything that's coming up on, and then take that and see what else is there and figure out what the best next step for that individual, that client, or the Princess Kate to go forward with.
Right, because she's holding a lot.
Hmm.
And if she's so then you bring up, how do I tell my family and my kids particularly? Because they're young.
Hmm.
And I just remember when I first told you with my first cancer, you were 4.
Yeah.
I mean, when I had my last cancer, that was in 2013.
I was
So
just
you
starting
were
college.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
so the span of all of that, but it was how we told you when you were young that helped through till the young adult.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say how we did it was how everybody should do it, because you have to take in consideration the child,
Hmm.
like what's their personality, and how much do they need to know? And
Right.
mostly, what did you want to know? I don't know if you can remember back at 4
Yeah.
or 5
I
or 6. I mean, it was so many times.
It was so many times, and I was so young that I couldn't distinguish exactly, which time was what age. I think when I was really little, it was just very clear, like, um, I just need to know what you were able to do, because I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what cancer meant at that time, right? Like, 4 years old, you're like, okay, mommy has cancer. It's like, what does that mean? And it's more than just being sick, right? It is I remember you being sick a lot. So kind of perceiving that, I remember, but knowing that like there were times that like I could play with you and like we could like paint something together, or like finding those times of where we could connect and what you were able to do, I think were what really mattered to me. Like, okay, can mommy play now? And it's like, no, not today. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, is there a time when she can? So I need to
Hmm.
know what kind of access I had to you and how to also care about where you are, because I think as a kid, you don't You don't see your parents as people. You see your parents as parents. You see your parents as like, oh, they know they're doing, they got this, it's fine, they're so stable. But parents are people, they're human, and they're learning and growing all at the same time. So, yeah, I think in that time, knowing what you really needed, that it also became more important than what I needed at those times. Um, and who I could lean on, if I should lean on dad, if I should lean on you for certain things. I think that is what clarity I really needed when I was growing up. But also I really appreciated that none of it was hidden from me.
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
was never
that was
disguised.
it was a big decision that we made. We were going to be totally honest. We were going to tell you everything that you wanted to know. So we would
Mhm.
always say, what do you want to know? I remember someone, it was either you or Ryan, who said, no secrets.
Oh, I think it's
Like
Ryan.
yeah, probably because you were four.
He's
Or
older, yeah. He kind of knows more at that age.
so
Yeah.
there was that permission to ask us anything, ask me anything, and I was going to tell you the truth.
Hmm.
And I got to say, that was really refreshing for me
Hmm.
because I didn't want to throw everything at you, like, okay, let me tell you what cancer is and blah, 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 because you were
Right.
young. But I wanted you to know that you could trust us,
Hmm.
that we weren't going to lie to you or not tell you anything that wasn't true.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was,
I think that in general with parenting, right, there are things that like you should definitely share, and there are definitely things that you should keep a little more quiet until that people are of a certain age, right? But I think that when it comes to something so life altering, like there was no way that this wasn't going to impact my life. So to keep any part of your cancer experience from me would have been really isolating, and it probably would have made our relationship much more separate, and much more like you couldn't tell me things, or that I couldn't tell
hmm
you things. I think
hmm
um, being so open about such a visceral experience that you're going through, and literally like I would go to like hospital visits with you all the time, and being a part of that whole experience. I remember at one point you had that, I don't know what mask it was. It was like this mesh mask, and we would like
hmm
you'd show it to me. It was definitely something that like I got to be a part of. I got to like touch it and feel it. It wasn't like, oh no, you can't touch that, or like you can't do certain things. It's just like, yeah, let's make you a part of it. Let me know like what things were, why we were going to the hospital, whether it all registered. was
right.
that was not, honestly, it shouldn't be part of the equation. You should be bringing in that terminology for like your kids, just so that they're familiar about it, and so that they can have their own experience with it. Because otherwise, I think if you didn't tell me, you're dictating the experience I'm supposed to have as
Right.
someone with a mom who has cancer. Whereas I needed to probably process that. I'm sure my brother Ryan and I processed that in very different ways. This is a really
hmm
interesting topic because I don't think you and I have ever really talked about it either. Um, so I feel like, I mean, I know that I've said because I was so young that I felt like, growing up, I didn't always think of cancer as a death sentence. And that's something
hmm
that I kind of still continue to feel now. I don't see it as a death sentence. I see it as something that is a part of life. And as I've grown and learned and started working with the Cancer Journey Institute, I mean, I've really realized that it rings true still in the way that I think we all still have purpose, no matter how much time we have. And so I
Okay.
still don't see it as a death sentence. I see it as an opportunity and, um, a moment of clarity. It can be.
I mean, I remember you saying that, and it was like, oh, are they not taking it seriously? And yet, what a great way to hold it. It's this opportunity for you and I to get closer. It's an opportunity for you and I to talk about really important, serious, intimate things. And
Hmm.
I do think that that probably was part of the foundation of our relationship.
Yeah, yeah. I think so too, and I think that, like, I I mean, throughout the years, right, like, the existential crisis leans differently, at different points in your life and for different people, obviously, but I think because your mortality was so, like, top of subject, top of mind in these experiences, um, I immediately got to see the impact that you have in this life, because as your
Mm,
daughter, you are immediately impacting me, and so even just knowing and experiencing that, like, whether, um, it's anyone going through cancer, the people who are gonna experience their impact the most are gonna be their friends and their family and those that they hold closest. So, it's just so obvious to me that the way that you live your life and the way that you share your heart and your love and your passions and, your fears with others is how you leave an impact.
right. And so, what was the impact on you? I'm really curious.
Well, I just see your impact more than anyone else, I feel like. You know, I see the, like, beautiful way that you live your life and the way that you empower others and the safe space that you create. Like, I get to bear witness to that constantly, which is also why it's, like, so wonderful to work with this company, is because I get to see all the amazing things that you've done from when you started this to now too, and even before that, right? Like, I've seen the wonderful impact that you have on the people around you and the connections that you make, the kind of friend you are. I've been able to see all of that, which is really beautiful, and I've also gotten to appreciate it a lot more, knowing that at some point all of our lives come to an end at some
Yes.
point, but we get to see the magical footprint we all leave.
Yeah. Well, so just so I can reflect back to you is, as you've grown, I've seen you, and maybe this is part of it because you were so young that this foundation of just really walking our truths and
Mhm,
being about life and not so much the things, but the experiences, is that you're much more focused on the experience of life.
mhm.
And then
Yeah,
as we brought you closer in, I mean, I think you've always been a really good friend, but you still, like any young child to teenager, I mean, you're going to deal with that whole friend angst. But
mhm,
how you've come out on this end is kind of a very well adjusted. I want to use the word powerful because you are powerful and you're a powerful adult, but it's the care that you
mhm.
have for people too. So it feels like you saw me do that, and that's a lot of what I've learned through my cancer journeys. And it just kind of rubbed off on you, and you have embraced that
Yeah.
particular trait of caring.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it was absolutely derived from all this experience I've had with you, and even if I were to, like, nut it down to, like, a good memory, a consistent memory, is that especially as we got older, not, like, after your last cancer, but probably around, like, middle school, even high school time, um, like, every Christmas, you'd say, "Don't give me a gift. Give me an experience. Give me something, like, a moment to spend together," and there were always more moments to spend together, and so there was definitely a highlight on that experience and being real, live, in person, in the moment, and present with the other person that, I've learned so much of that with you, and we still continue to do that and have our time together, which is beautiful. Um, and we get to make that time for other people because we see what an impact it is to really be able to spend that time, that quality time being present with another person, not staring at your phone, and just being with them, being in their energy and matching them.
Right. Oh, so now coming back to Princess
Yes.
Kate, and
Hmm.
this is a pivotal time for her and her kids because it's new, because
Hmm.
she doesn't know what she's going to feel. And while I know she's in initiation, here's the scary thing. the pit is coming. There's
Mm-hmm.
no jumping the pit. But in that place is the genesis of transformation of the bigger Kate she's going to be. And I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot will be around how she decides to be with her family, her
Yes.
children.
Yeah. Yeah. I so agree. And I think that even though there's this extra layer to completely acknowledge the huge scale this is on, the media coverage that comes out of it, just the crazy rumors that come up, or even just people poking fun and maybe having some insensitivity around it, like that becomes so much harder. So to have um a community of people, or even just a singular coach that you can really confide in, who's really hearing you and not trying to lead you anywhere you don't want to go. I think that's something so important that we do, is that we don't tell anyone where to go. They discover that on their own, but we help them figure out what that is for them, because to do it alone, to have nowhere to put any of that processing, because it doesn't, you don't just come with the immediate answer. Like
Right.
you need to make a mess. You need to make a huge mess and then sort it out and take your time with it and really figure out what is important to you. And that's really what a coach helps you do. That's really what we help even our when we're training our coaches, we help them do that as well. And they help their clients really come to what the answer is best for them. We're not telling anyone what to do. We're helping
I,
them find it.
yes. And I think this is why I would say what I said is come and get quiet away
Mhm.
from all the noise so she can find herself and what she truly wants, and
Mhm.
then process that and step into that, because
Mhm.
that's what it's her journey. It's all about her.
Absolutely. Yeah. Without any judgment of what that choice is, because there are so many factors that none of us could really truly understand, like what level of importance everything is to her, you know? Like only she truly knows that. Only she truly knows what the right choice is. We're just here to like hold that space.
And ask the big questions.
Yes.
All
And
right.
ask the
I
big
think this is a
question.
perfect place for us to stop.
Mhm.
That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So takeaway and a word for right now.
Yes. You start.
Okay. Um, my takeaway is that communicating what's going on, big or small, with the people that matter and the people that really care about you, leaves such a lasting impact. You know, I didn't reflect on the impact that like all of this experience with you has had on me even till now. Um, but to be so open and know that that line of communication is open has always been so important, and something that I continue to lean into. And I think it's been one of the biggest parts of my like growth as a young adult. And my word is family.
Hmm. My takeaway is for the cancer individual. There's a lot swirling around. And what I'd say is trust your gut. Like your head can do pros and cons all day long, forever and a day. But your intuition, your gut knows, and lean into that. So that will guide you forward with your coach, with your cancer journey coach. And my word is support. Like this is not to be done by yourself. We need support.
Yes, absolutely. Because so much can happen here, and a lot needs to happen as you process out loud. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back next week.
See you soon. Bye for now.